Richard Francis Dennis Berry III, one of the great legends of NBA and ABA history, who doesn't quite get the recognition his talent deserves. Berry is one of those players whose legacy suffers from the fact that he spent large portions of his career in both the NBA and the ABA. By the end of his career, he had many accolades and had accumulated many statistics. But when you split those totals between two different leagues, they tend to not stand out as much and are rarely brought up. But in order to fully appreciate the greatness of the world's greatest granny shot shooter, we have to start our evaluation at the beginning of his professional career. Berry was drafted with the second overall pick in the 1965 NBA draft by the San Francisco Warriors. The 21-year-old, 6'7" small forward was immediately ready to live up to the high expectations. He had many skills, as he was a fantastic finisher around the rim and also a jump shooting sniper. The most iconic part of his game was his underhand free throw shooting. Other than the fact that this is a very rare shooting form, Berry's free throw shooting was famous for the fact that he was one of the most efficient shooters to ever do it, as he shot 89.3% over the course of his career, which is the 7th greatest of all time on the NBA/ABA list. In that rookie campaign, Berry put up numbers of 25.7 points, 10.6 rebounds, and 2.2 assists on 44% shooting, which was good enough to win the Rookie of the Year award. With this incredible debut season, he led the Warriors to more than double their win total from the previous season, going from only 17 wins to 35 wins, which was a great improvement, but still came up short of the playoffs. His second season would be a monumental leap forward, not just for Berry, but for the entire team as well. In a sense, Berry had statistically the most offensively dominant season from a forward in NBA history. That season, he averaged a massive 35.6 points, 9.2 rebounds, and 3.6 assists on 45% shooting. This was only his sophomore season in the league as a 22-year-old, and his 35.6 scoring average is still the 8th highest average for a season in NBA history. The only players to ever average more points in a single season was Wilt Chamberlain, Michael Jordan, and James Harden. Behind this incredible charge of Berry, the Warriors won 44 games to earn a playoff berth. In the playoffs, they swept the Lakers in the first round, they beat the St. Louis Hawks in the second round in 6 games, and then in the NBA Finals, they pushed the 68-win Philadelphia 76ers to 6 games before being eliminated. In that final series, Berry put up monstrous averages of 40.8 points, 8.8 rebounds, and 3.3 assists, including an epic 55-point and 12-rebound performance in Game 5. By the end of his second year, the sky was the limit for Rick. But that's when his career would start to get kind of weird and controversial. Berry was clearly the biggest reason for the Warriors' recent success, and he felt frustrated as he believed he hadn't been appropriately compensated in terms of his finances. Free agency did not exist in the NBA at this point, but there was another professional basketball league in the form of the ABA. The issue became a legal one, which resulted in Berry leaving the NBA for the ABA and ultimately being forced to sit out the entire 67-68 season. Although some recognized Berry's move as one where he was simply pursuing what he was worth, there were also plenty of people who now saw him as a selfish, money-hungry player. When he finally returned to action as a 24-year-old, he was a member of the Oakland Oaks, and it appeared as if he hadn't missed a beat. The Oaks made several big additions that year, and the team launched to 60 wins after winning only 22 the previous season. Unfortunately, Berry wasn't there for much of it. In the 35 games he played that year, he averaged 34 points, 9.4 rebounds, and 3.9 assists on 51% shooting. But nearly midway through the regular season, Berry collided with another player and tore ligaments in his left knee, and his season was over. From this point on, knee problems would be something that Berry would have to push through. As I mentioned earlier, the Oaks had a great team all around, not just Berry, and the team still went on to win the ABA championship even with arguably their best player out. Despite the team's success, the Oaks were still the less popular Bay Area basketball team behind the NBA's Warriors. So the Oaks owner sold the franchise, which was then relocated to Washington, D.C., where they became the Washington Caps. Once again, Berry was not thrilled about this situation, and for a while, he refused to report to the team, even going as far as saying, if I wanted to go to Washington, I'd run for president. Eventually, he was forced to join the team, where he then continued to put up his usual solid numbers. In the playoffs, they pushed the Denver Rockets to 7 games, and Rick averaged 40.1 points over the course of the series. But ultimately, despite a 52-point performance in Game 7, Berry and the Caps were still eliminated. Over the next few years, his rollercoaster career would continue to change its atmosphere and circumstances, yet he would continue his elite play and scoring, along with more of his controversy. By the summer of 1972, a United States District Court judge ruled that Barry would have to play for the team that drafted him, which was the Warriors of the NBA. So it was back to the NBA for Barry. His shining moment of his career would come just a couple years later, as he was entering what was arguably the best season of his career. As a 30-year-old who had battled through knee injuries, his game had evolved to be one that was dominating almost entirely from the perimeter, as many people consider him the original point forward. In that role, he averaged 30.6 points, 6.2 assists, 5.7 rebounds, and 2.9 steals on 46.4% shooting. He led the league in steals, free throw percentage, and was 6th overall in assists. He then led the Warriors through the playoffs as they beat the Sonics in 6 games, the Bulls in 7 games, and swept the heavily favored Washington Bullets in just 4 games, and Barry was named the Finals MVP. The champions headed into the next season as the favorites to win it all once again, and they appeared as if they were poised to do just that, as they won a league-best 59 games that regular season. But as usual, every triumphant moment from Barry is surrounded with drama. The Warriors made it to the Western Conference Finals where they were facing the Phoenix Suns. After 6 games, the series was tied at 3 games apiece, with the Warriors expected to win the 7th game on their home floor. The thing is, within the first 2 minutes of this game, Rick Barry and Ricky Sobers get into a huge fight. You may notice from the footage that none of Barry's teammates really come to his aid. Once the game reaches halftime, the Warriors are up by 6 points. But that's when Barry sees the footage and notices that none of his teammates had backed him up. For pretty much the rest of the second half, Barry then refuses to shoot the ball. He quickly passes it, and he seems apathetic, disengaged, and as if he's completely quit on his team. The Warriors blow the lead and end up losing the series in what might be the biggest stain on Barry's legacy. He would go on to play several more years and add to his career totals, but he would never return to his dominant glory days from this point on. Looking at the totality of his production from both pro leagues, he was a 12-time All-Star, he made 10 All-NBA, All-ABA teams, he's 24th on the all-time NBA/ABA scoring list, he has the 15th greatest scoring average of all time, and easily has the greatest NBA final scoring average ever at 36.3, and Michael Jordan is a distant second at 33.6. When it comes to his talent and production, there's no question that Rick Barry is criminally underrated and is one of the most dominant wing players of all time. When it comes down to how great he was as a teammate though, well, I'll leave that up to you guys to debate. Let me know in the comments section where you rank Rick Barry among the greatest small forwards in basketball history. Thanks for watching as always, make sure to like and subscribe for more basketball content, and I'll see you guys in the next video.